I can't hear you. What did you say?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you at all. Okay, so I'm really excited that I'll see you soon in the ski camp, Bezrat Hashem. Okay, so I think we will start if that's okay. Yeah, you waited long enough, and I don't want to finish too early, too late. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is about dealing with fear. I would say that our life in general are surrounded with different kinds of fear and different kinds of struggles, and that, you know, for example, there are people who are afraid from darkness, or there are people who are afraid from dark. We have different levels and different kinds, but most of us, when we have talking about fears today, let's start your time. Most of our fears them back to the back of our mind. For example, you know, every day there are car accidents, and it doesn't stop us from leaving home and going out. So it's healthy that we're pushing the fear back. And it's healthy that we have this feeling of everything is going to be okay. Even though there are risks, I have this fear, I can push it to the back of my mind and deal with it. And I would say it's more risky when it's the other one, that because of the risk, we're stopping ourselves of doing things. Because I know that there are car accidents. If I will decide not to leave home, then this is already a problematic situation that maybe I need to go to treatment to deal with it. And there is also, I would say, as much as we're growing about them. For example, I can say that obviously, since I'm a mother, I have concerns and I'm more worried about the kids, and I have fears that I didn't have before. Or, for example, I remember I have a conversation with her once, and she was worried. She's a very spiritual person, but she was worried about everything. And I told her, like, Grandma, Safta, relax, don't need to be worried. And she said, what else can I do? I mean, this is my job. So as much as we grow up, we have more things to be worried about and to be afraid because of them. And again, it's completely legitimate. But I would say there are situations that we cannot ignore the fear and we cannot push it away. And sometimes the fear is coming straight into our face. It can be in like extreme situations. For example, if there is a war. I remember when we lived in Israel, after we got married, we lived in the area who is called Otef Aza, the area very close to the street. And there was a war called the Oferet Yetzuka, and they were shooting missiles on us, and it was, of course, very scary. Like, sometimes you have this fear and you cannot push it back. Or, for example, people have like sometimes extreme situations, or I would say you can even call it sometimes a trauma. And our parasha is, we start our parasha with dealing with this question: how are we coming into our face, and how can we step by step if we have this big fear or trauma that's catching us? Because I think today it's very clear that when a person is having it, he needs to process it in a way. For example, there were a bus of kids going to school, and they saw in front of them a big car accident or something like this. So those kids, nothing happened to them. But of course, if they will get to school after they saw this blood, and the teacher cannot tell them, okay, nothing happened to you, you're healthy, Baruch Hashem, let's start studying. Of course, the teacher needs, or the system have to give them some dealing with this trauma. And here in our Parsha story, we're going to talk about how Yaakov is dealing with her. I'm going to share with you the screen. I hope all reading. Okay, you all see it? Good. So Yaakov Avinu, I think today in the group I can do it shortly. Yaakov coming back from Haran to Eretz Israel, and he knows he needs to deal with his brother. That when he left Eretz Israel, his brother Esav was really, really angry, and Yaakov is worried. So the first thing he's doing, he's sending messengers in front of him to his brother, to Esav, in trying to, to comfort Esav, or like to try to come in peace, I would say. And let's read. I cut psukim in the middle, that were not that necessary. I'll read to you the beginning, and then we'll talk a bit. Or maybe I'll read the whole story and then we'll Yaakov sent angels ahead of him to his brother Esav, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. The angels with Yaakov, saying, "We came to your brother, to Esav, and he is also coming towards you, and 400 men are with him." Yaakov became frightened and was distressed. So he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and the cattle and the camels into 2 camps. He said, "If Esau comes to one camp and strike it down, the remaining camp will escape." And Yaakov said, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Yitzhak, the Lord who said to me, 'Return to your land and to your birthplace, and I will do good to you.' I have become small from all the kindness, all the truth that you have rendered your servant. For with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Now deliver me, friendly brother, from the hand of Esau, for I am afraid of him, lest he come and strike me, and mother with children. And you will surely do good with you, and I will seed as numerous as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted because of multitude." Okay, so this is the description of the process, and we're gonna read it really pasuk after pasuk, and try to understand it. If you don't hear me well, raise your hand or something, so I will understand the internet. Okay, so at the beginning we see that Yaakov is sending those messengers, and when they are coming back, they are saying that Esav is coming, and he's coming with 400 people with him. And I think, first of all, this number is very, very interesting, because very have 400 in the Torah, it represents negative things. For example, when Ephron asked Abraham to pay for so he's asking him for 400 shekels. When God is telling to Abraham that his descendants be slaves in Egypt, at the beginning he's telling him that there will be slaves in Egypt for 400 years. Even the word arba meot, arba, 4 in Hebrew, you can the letters is like avra, like a father of a bad thing. When they are saying that he's coming for people, he's not seeing it as, oh, he's bringing all his big family or all his servants to bring me presents. He's not seeing it as positive. Understand that this is something. And we read here that it's written very frightened and distressed. And this word in Hebrew, vayatzer lo. Vayatzer coming from the word tsar. Tsar is something which is very narrow. And I think that it's very, very interesting I'll say one comment. When we're learning Torah, one of the best way to learn it, understand it better, is not just to read the commentators, but to actually to imagine the situation, us standing there at that. And here, after we see that Yaakov is very frightened, it's what he's saying is, so Esav, if he's coming to the camp, kill everyone. So what I should do, I should split my family and all I have into 2 camps. So if Esav will come and will hit one camp, at least half of the family will. If you think about this for a minute as like a real situation that you need to stand on, it's very, very hard situation. When we read the Torah, we usually go fast that we're not even paying attention to what is the steps that he's doing here. I would say it's a bit reminding us maybe the worst stories about the Holocaust, about the mother who needs to decide which child she will save and which child she will have to give up on. And here, obviously, is a situation which child is going to send to which camp. He knows that there is a big probability that half of his family will not survive this. So it's not just he was scared, he was in a very, very difficult situation. And I would say when we said that he was scared and he was distressed and it was narrow to him, I think that sometimes when we're in difficult situation, this fear can make us disabled in a way. When there is a description of people who are, for example, attacked by lions. Often you see that instead of they see that the lion is coming to attack them, instead of start running or doing something, they're just standing and they cannot move. Because they make their world so narrow that they cannot look even to search for other options. Or, for example, a person who's drawing, sometimes from the history, I can say maybe, historical, that he cannot even, someone is throwing to him this life-saving thing. So when we're in fear, we cannot move. Everything is very, very narrow and we cannot look aside. And we can see a similar story in the Bible, the story of David and Goliath. So David was not part of the camp of Israel. There was a camp of Israel who was standing in front of the camp of the Palestine. Goliath was coming every day and threatening, and everyone was so scared that they couldn't look at the situation from perspective. And only when David came, he was not there all that, was not seeing this scary person. He came from the outside, and he was able to see that it's true that Goliath is very big and scary, but he cannot move fast, and if I'm coming to attack him from far, then it will be very easy to destroy him. And think about this logically, of course David will win against Goliath. Always, if you're far away and you can move, it will be much harder to attack. So logically, he had the advantage. It was clear, but no one was able to see the clear option because they were so scared. So we see here that Yaakov was scared, but he needs to deal with it. And there are different explanations why he was scared at all, because Yaakov is such a big tzaddik. So basically, why would he be scared at all? Of course, he's supposed to survive, and God would not let him be hurt by Esav. And there are different explanations. Actually, he had good reasons to be worried. For example, he thought that Esav lived all those years in Eretz Israel, so maybe he have more rights than Yaakov, who lived all those years outside of Eretz Israel. Or, for example, that all those years Esav was actually taking care of Yitzchak and doing Kibud Orim and respecting his parents when Yaakov didn't do it. So again, maybe Esav have more rights than him. But he was very, very. And usually we would assume that if you're a righteous person and you're scared, what would you do first thing? You would pray, right? This is what we're doing. We're in trouble, immediately we go to God and we're praying. But we see here that Yaakov, first sentence said that he was very, very scared. And then what he did, he split the camp. Only after he was splitting the camp, he started praying. And I think there is understanding here that the fact that we're praying is not enough. Maybe we should prepare ourselves to pray well if we want this godly God to come and help us. And maybe Yaakov is understanding that maybe praying immediately is not the best way to solve it. And first of all, he needs to have this being so freeze in his fear. So as we see, he's splitting the camp. And what he's trying to show us here, if you're going through this process of dealing with those that are scary for us, he's doing an action. And it doesn't matter what he's doing something. And when we feel that we're so narrow because of this fear, the thing that we should do is not to pray and to scream, but to do an action. For example, when we see it also at the laws of Lut, when someone away and the people who are close to him, they need to mourn. And after the funeral, when they're going back home, you would expect what is the first thing people should do? They should talk to them, they should give speeches about the person. But no, first thing after they come back from the funeral, we need to and they need to eat. They need to feel connected, like they need to do an action to be connected to the world. Another example is that pilots, for example, if there is airplane, if he needs to abandon his airplane, what they do is thing, instead of start questioning and doing why did he abandon, what happened to the airplane, first thing, they put him on an airplane and send him again. The trauma will not stay in him. He has to immediately move to action, because otherwise he will be so traumatized that he won't be able to do something again. There is a book from a pilot in the Israeli Air Force that he's describing exactly this. There was a situation, he abandoned his, and then they came to him, and he was like in hospital, and they told him he got promotion to a better airplane, and he was shocked because he didn't expect them. But the point was, like, you shouldn't like stay because of what happened to you. And then we can think, we can question, we can check, but do not stay where you are because of the fear. And here we see that he was split. First thing he did an action. First thing that he was scared. And then it's written. I read here, so he divided the people who were with him and the flock and the cattle and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, if Esau comes to want to strike it down, the remaining camp will escape. So he's talking here. To who he is talking? I would say, to himself. It's not written that he said it to someone, he was talking to his family. He was talking to himself. I assume that it happens to all of us sometimes, that we're talking to ours, and sometimes we feel a bit crazy because of it. But maybe we're not crazy. Here we have a source in the Torah that we can do it. And what is it that I'm talking to myself? This is something that we're making order in our mind. We are taking all our thoughts, all the things are running in our mind, and it's putting it in order. When I'm thinking about something and I'm organizing it, it's helped me. And we see here, so Yaakov is afraid, and then he's talking to himself. after he was doing an action and talking, then he's capable to pray. This is the next step. But here, if I want this prayer to do what it's supposed to do, to have the impact that I want it to have, I have to be prepared for it. And now we'll read the prayer, which is built from 4 different psukim, 4 different sentences, and we'll try to understand how he created this prayer and to understand it a bit more. So, and Yaakov said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Yitzchak, the Lord to me, return to your land and to your birthplace, and I will do good to you. I have become small from all the kindness and from all the truth that you have rendered even. For with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. So I'm stopping here with the first 2. First of all, he's doing like some introduction, I would say. You are the Lord my God, and you told me to come back here. I would say an introduction. And then he's actually giving this sentence that became a very beautiful song later of Aaron Razel, but he's saying this sentence, and he's saying, how would you understand this sentence? I want to hear you if you can turn on your microphones. What do you think this sentence comes to say? To represent? Nothing? Okay, can you try to say words what he is trying to say here? What does it mean, I have become small from all your kindness? What is he trying to say here? Elina.
Hi. No, I saw that that was trying to say something, but I think we can't hear her. You can write in the chat, maybe. I think that I become small from your kindness. It can mean that he didn't really become small, but he says that. But it's also, I don't know. It's interesting to say that that's what Yaakov is saying. Like, from what kindness? He had a very difficult life.
Okay.
I like, on the one hand side, he had a very difficult life, very difficult. I think if you compare him to all our forefathers, to what we read until now, no one had challenges like him. And he still says it's like kindness, and I think we can compare it. I don't know. I think we can compare it also to his prayer to God before he goes. That he says that if you will be good to me and kind to me and provide me clothing and all the things, I will be your servant, and I will believe in you. Basically, he makes like his personal covenant, and now he says that you did everything well for me. And in comparison, what do I have to give in return is so small in comparison to what you give to me. It's in comparison to the big miracles you're doing for me. All my efforts are very minor.
Okay. Thank you. Hadassah, you're writing? Should we wait to read?
Yes.
Okay. No stress, no stress. Eliana, you have something in mind? Nothing at all.
I mean, it seems a little bit like flattery. Like he's saying, oh, Hashem, you're so great, you're amazing, you did everything for me. And then like the second part should be, I just need some more help right now. Like sort of coming as an introduction to another request that he has. That's what it seems like to me.
Okay. Thank you. We cannot hear you, Hadassah.
So sad.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'll say something in the meantime. It's okay, Hadassah? Okay. But keep writing, we're waiting. I would like to say something about the first sentence that he's saying, the introduction. If we said that it was very, very narrow when he was here, I think he's trying to push those walls away from him slowly, slowly. And I would say that he's starting with talking about perspective. So he's starting to talk about the fathers, and he has this perspective. I would say sometimes when we're thinking only about ourselves and we have problems, we think we're like some difficult situation in the world. And the fact that he's starting with the God of Abraham and the God of Yitzchak, it's something that reminds him that also other people had difficult situations and they were able to deal with it. And maybe I can also deal with this situation. So the fact that he's starting with reminder, like myself and putting those forefathers before him, maybe it gives him the power to understand that he's able to deal with. And I remember I was posting I think it was last year in Facebook, one of my family members, she was at the house of my grandfather, and she found the letter that he wrote to all the family members many, many years ago when I was, I think, I don't know how old I was, but maybe I was 14. And he wrote a letter about different things that happened in the family, and it was of another war. It was Chomat Magen, never mind. And wrote because we had a family meeting in Pesach, and then the war started in Pesach, and all my brothers, everyone went to the army. And then he wrote that for him, it's so amazing to read the newspapers, and everyone also like crazy about what's going on. They're also hysterical, and he don't understand it. When he came to his grandmother, we had no army. They couldn't even dream of countries. They didn't believe that they're going to have a country, and now we have a country from army. Why everyone are so again hysterical about this war? Like, we should be so happy that we have an army and we have all those things. Like, he was really trying to bring the perspective, and when I was reading it last year, it was so inspiring for me, because again, when we're inside our troubles, we forget that when they were capable of dealing with them. So maybe have the same ability. And I think we see here, starting with Yitzchak and Abraham, he's remembering that there are generations before him. And Elina, I agree that Yaakov's lives were very difficult, but I think Abraham had very, very difficult struggles. And God was, his life were not easy at all. And the things that he needed to deal with were not easy, in my perspective, at all. So it's true that Yaakov had a difficult life, but maybe the fact that he's starting with thinking other people is again a way to try to push away this fear and after hearing the fathers, he's going to you have your answer for us now? Oh, yes. Yes, let's see. Chat, wait. You return to your land. I see it back to your roots. Listen to yourself and where you come from. There you will find the answer how to approach the fear. Very beautiful. Thank you for doing all this effort. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's like he's saying that you sent me here is because you believe that I can deal with it in a way. And if I will look at my forefathers, I will have the power to deal with it. Thank you, Adasta. And I will go a bit. In my with my staff, I cross the Jordan, and this is what we read last parasha. When Yaakov is leaving Eretz Israel, he didn't have the staff in his hand, and now when he's coming back, I think when he says sentence, he's able to see the blessings that he have. He's very scared because he have a lot to lose. But when he's saying this sentence, now I have chance, I need to divide my family into two. He understands that he has so much. So while having this fear, he also understands that he have a lot to be grateful for. Because I left Israel and now I'm coming with so much. And this is a reason for my fear, but he's able to see the how God is close to him and how God through this difficulty. And there is a beautiful idea in the Rotem. I didn't brought it here as a text itself, but he's saying that when we have a fear or when we have a big problem or a big trouble, usually we feel it physically even, like the blood, all the blood is coming to the heart, start pumping. And the Likutei Moharan is saying that all this blood is coming, in the end it can explode, but not necessarily in a negative way. Sometimes this fear can become something that pushes us. For example, you can look at it, for example, in the a birth of a baby. I remember when I was pregnant with Tama, we went to this course that they were talking sitting in this delivery room, and they said that very often when we have these pains, contractions, I think we say it in English, or a similar word, when you have this pain while the birth, many women are thinking that oh no, it's come now, and I don't want it to come, and they are so afraid from what's going to happen, from the fear, that they are trying to stop the process with their body. They're like, I don't want it. And what they told us is that actually this pain that you're having, every pain, which is horrible, you're not enjoying it, but this is what brings you your baby actually. And I remember that I think when Tamar was born, I couldn't think about it, but when Yedid was born, I was really thinking about, and every time I had this pain, I want this to come right now because it's painful. I was actually thinking, this pain is bringing me close to see my baby, because this is the goal of this pain. So I think sometimes when we have those troubles, is coming to deliver something from us. Something should become born from us. And with Yaakov, we see that from this trouble, he was able to have this gratitude coming from him that maybe he wasn't aware of before, that he should be grateful for everything he had. But because he had this trouble and because he had this fear, he was see how blessed he is, and it's something that brings him closer to God. Now I want us to read the last sentence. Now deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I am afraid of him, like a mother with children. You said, I will surely do good with him, and I will make your seed as numerous as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted because of multitude. And I would say that the way that Yaakov is organizing his prayer is like a sandwich, in a way, okay? So we have this intro beginning, then we have this gratitude, then he's putting the request, like, please save me, and then he's put at the end the last part of the prayer, which is the last sentence, that, and you said, I will surely do good for you. And it's like we're saying that if we want to criticize someone, you should not just come and criticize him and put everything in his face. Usually you should say something good, how he is good at something. Then this is and actually able to hear what you're trying to tell him. But if you will come and throw it in his face, he will not be able to deal with it. Talking about the sandwich, so if you're just giving someone a spoon of skug, like something very spicy to eat, he will not be able to handle it. But if you do like this bread and then this omelette and then of skug and another bread, then he can deal with it. And I think that if we look at this prayer, he was actually good in a way. And this is not a prayer of someone who is in deep fear and he don't know how to deal with it. So I think that he was really preparing himself to the prayer. Will be and we can see that the way that he's praying and is not a miracle and needs help now. But he's thinking how he's saying it. I think that the whole process is that I did everything I could. I was doing an action, I was talking to myself, organizing myself, and I prayed. And I can actually deal with it. I understand that I'm not alone. I know that there are generations before. I'm able to see the fear. And he has proportions, and then he's saying what he's scared about and thanking God in then. And there is another pasuk that I didn't, but after he's praying, that he went to sleep that night. And I think this is telling us he was able to fall asleep. After this, in a very difficult situation, all this process, he was able to go to sleep. And I think that we can learn. I think in our life today, all of our full with those fears that we have in our pocket. And from Yaakov, that God actually told him you should not fear. And learn this of how we can deal with our own fears. And when we're in a situation so afraid of, maybe we should try to go and just to talk to ourselves, to deal with the fear. We need to let it be something that we're not scared of, and not to make it bigger. After we did all this process, go to sleep. Now, first of all, thank you for learning with me. I hope you. I want to say that when I prepared this class, I thought a lot about myself. It's very interesting. Right? Better? No? You hear me better now? Okay. So I will repeat. Thinking a lot about myself when I prepared this, and it was very interesting. I'm sorry, the internet in Berlin is really, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll try to say it shortly and to finish. I hope you can hear me until the end. Was like talking about what here in Berlin and what I did in Morasha in Germany, and a ago when I here in Berlin started to teach, so I was really afraid I'm able to do it. I have a choice. So I did the action, start teaching. And now it's clear about Hashem. And yeah, maybe we should all try to deal with our fears. Hear me. Thank you. I hope to see you next week. I'm not sure since I'm in Krakow. I'll update you about next week. But thank you. Hope to see you all soon. And good night.